new development. It's something that the Houthis have been eyeing intermittently over the last couple of years, but it's clear that they're making a push. And, whether that's to put themselves in a better position in advance of a negotiation or what exactly is the motive, I would let them comment on that. We do have ways of getting messages to the Houthis, and we are using those channels very aggressively.
James Dorsey is here with us. He's a senior fellow at Singapore's Rajaratnam School of International Studies. James, thanks so much for your time for us here at TRT World. As we just heard there from Muttalib, Houthi rebels already said they will not stop their offensive on the city of Marib. How significant is this city, and what would Houthis' victory there mean, actually?
I think what you're seeing is, as your correspondent Muttalib already noted, that the U.S. approach towards Yemen is a very different approach, and that includes an approach towards the Houthis. What this has done is, in a sense, emboldened the Houthis, both in terms of changing U.S. policy towards Yemen as well as towards Saudi Arabia. And in that context, Marib is very important. It is the last Saudi stronghold in northern Yemen. And so, therefore, the ability to be able to control all of northern Yemen in advance of negotiations is important to the Houthis. It's also important because, irrespective of how the negotiations go, there is looming on the background the threat of a possible partition of Yemen into north and south, something that apparently the United Arab Emirates favors. And again, in that context, control of all of northern Yemen would be very important to the Houthis.
James, as you said, very different approach from Biden's administration to many things in the Middle East, including Yemen. Now, he already announced plans, his administration already announced plans to end U.S. support for Saudi Arabia-led coalition forces in Yemen. But what support he actually plans to end, and how will that be different from the other U.S. assistance and arms sales to Saudi Arabia?
I think you've got to put it in context. First of all, there's a fundamental approach. So the U.S. policy, as it was under Trump, is no longer blind and unconditional support for Saudi Arabia. The United States made a very significant move under Biden with the appointment of its own special envoy, whom you just had on this program, to the Yemen conflict. With other words, the United States is positioning itself far more as a neutral party, trying to bring the parties together, and promoting a multilateral approach towards a peace settlement. What they have done in terms of the of arms sales, they've said they no longer would support Saudi military offensive operations in Saudi Arabia. So that means guided weapons that are being used in attacks on Houthi positions in Yemen. But they will maintain arms sales that enhance the defense of Saudi Arabia. So, with other words, they will help the Saudis protect themselves against Houthi attacks on Saudi territory, which makes perfect sense from the position of the United States. One, Saudi Arabia still is a partner in the Middle East, and the United States is committed to securing the defense of its partners on a defensive rather than an offensive basis.
Right.
And it sends a very clear message to both parties that there is no military solution. The United States will not support efforts to achieve a military solution of the conflict.
Right. One other shift coming from U.S. President Biden, he says he'll communicate with Saudi Arabia's King Salman bin Abdulaziz instead of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. What kind of reaction from Mohammed bin Salman can we expect, and what this mean for the relations between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia?
Obviously, Mohammed bin Salman is probably not going to be very happy about this. But it goes to two fundamental things. One is that the Biden administration is very critical of Mohammed bin Salman. Keep in mind that it has committed itself to releasing the U.S. intelligence report on the killing in Istanbul of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018, that reportedly points fingers at Mohammed bin Salman. But it also goes to a much more fundamental question, and that is, who is really driving change in the kingdom? The assumption has been all along that this was Mohammed bin Salman. What probably is closer to the truth is that the driver of change is King Salman himself, and that Prince Mohammed was brought in to execute and ensure that those changes are implemented.
Okay, James Dorsey, thanks so much for that and for your insight for us here at TRT World. As always, he's a senior fellow at Singapore's S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, Nanyang Technological University.